Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Ashley. I recently started this YouTube channel to kind of share my journey, share my life, specifically my testimony, what has led me to pursue my walk with the Lord more closely and have a close relationship with him, and the reasoning behind that and what kind of led to that over the last few years. But I also want to share my story of transplant and why I had to have a transplant in hopes of bringing awareness to it, to organ donation, transplants, biliary atresia, which is the disease that caused me to have a transplant. So yeah, if you are here, I appreciate you. I love you. And stay tuned. Today, I am going to be talking a little bit about like what was happening while I was waiting for my transplant. In the last video, I kind of talked a little bit about why I needed the transplant and things that happened before the transplant. And today I'm going to kind of talk about like everything from my diagnosis of needing one to like a couple months after having it, and kind of my thoughts and the things that I do remember. So let's get into it. Okay, so today's gonna be fun. I have some more pictures for you and just some silly little things. So we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I don't remember a whole lot about like being in the hospital and waiting for the transplant. I truly don't. But I do remember like being on oxygen, having to be on oxygen. I remember being in school with the oxygen, and then after a while, like due to my oxygen levels continuing to get lower and like the strain it was putting on me and like how hard it was for me to kind of just navigate the halls and like the school as a second grader, which elementaries aren't even that big. And I'm like huffing and puffing over here. So I do remember that. I remember getting a tutor, thank the Lord, because I didn't end up getting held back. So I was able to stay with my class. Like it didn't cause me to be held back in any way. My tutor would she would even come to the hospital and teach me. So I always like just stayed on top of everything. I don't remember too much from like actually being in the hospital. I remember going, obviously like being admitted. I remember occasionally being able to like go down to the activity room and like play with the other kids and just the toys, board games, whatever. I remember watching movies in my room. But honestly, that's like all I really remember. I don't remember like I said, I don't remember the ins and outs of like, oh, I remember this day we did this and blah, 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 which I mean, I was 9 and it was a traumatic event, like everything, all of it. So who knows, I could just be blocking some of it out, but also 9 is still a young age I'm 36, so I just don't remember. But I do remember the day, technically like the day/night before I had my transplant. My dad and stepmom had actually traveled back home. Like I said in my last video, we lived about 2 hours away from the hospital where I had my transplant. And my dad and stepmom went back home to, I believe, go to my little brother's preschool graduation. And I don't remember if like, as soon as they got home, my grandparents called them or like how long they were home before they had to come back. But I was with my grandparents and I remember I was in a wheelchair and we were going down to the gift shop. And when we came back, I remember there was a note on the hospital bed and I think it said like, call me when you are back in the room. I don't know, something like that, but it was from our nurse. So then my grandma does, and long story short, they said that they believe they have a liver for me, and you know, they're gonna get things going, blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of like stuff and prep and everything they have to do with that liver. Plus, obviously, like they have to prep me. I have to be like, I can't have food for X amount of hours and things like that. So they obviously called my dad and my stepmom, and my dad came right back. He actually ended up getting pulled over. My dad actually had a pager and he said that he got the page. And so he headed back, and obviously he's speeding. I mean, I would be too if it was my child. And he got pulled over. And obviously he got there in time and everything. And then I remember, all I really remember is like, I'm trying to watch the Disney movie Aristocats. Have you guys seen that? To this day, it's like my favorite movie because it was the evening before I received my gift. But yeah, we were watching that, and we kept having to like stop it and start it and stop it and start it. And it was just this joke kind of, that like we were never going to finish the movie because they constantly kept coming in and like prepping me and talking to my dad and all this stuff. I remember they gave me like a betadine bath with those like big, huge, like Q-tip swabs full of that orange, brownish betadine soap. And they like doused me in it. Like, I think I was like from here to my belly button. I was in it. And this was April 29th going into the 30th, I believe. Listening or reading my dad's journal, my dad did like keep a diary, keep a journal of everything that happened. I think I've mentioned that on here before, but he ended up keeping it. He gave me a copy of it in this binder. And so this is the journal entries. And I believe I have always said April 29th, but this lovely newspaper article with my, look at these bangs. I mean, the hair's hairing, isn't it? But according to this new newspaper article from the local news station, this says, while her classmates slept undisturbed, 8-year-old Ashley underwent a long-awaited liver transplant at 3 a.m. Monday, April 30th, after 9.5 hours of surgery. And then obviously, like, it, yeah, like, talks about how I did, blah, blah, blah. So I have always said April 29th, and apparently it's April 30th is when it actually happened. But like that said, at 3 a.m. So like the 29th into the 30th. And it also said it was like 9.5 hour surgery. So yeah, I remember that. And I remember, like getting ready for my surgery, and before they put me under, I specifically remember my doctor, the surgeon, he's like, do you want to see your new liver? And I was just like, obviously, yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact words, but I saw it, so I must have said yes. And he showed it to me. And then, like, obviously, I went out and they did the surgery. And a couple weeks after my surgery, I remember maybe it was a couple days, honestly, it's all a blur, but the surgeon ended up like coming in to do a checkup and stuff. And I had been telling my grandparents and like everybody that like, oh, I saw my liver, you know, I got to see it, blah, blah, blah. And that particular day that the surgeon came in, I was coloring with colored pencils. And my grandma, I believe, said, like, she keeps saying that she saw her liver. Like, is that even a possibility? Like, do you guys show them their new organs? Like, however she asked it, but she did ask. And he was like, well, possibly. So, he was, I mean, I don't know. I know my grandma said, like, he said possibly. So I don't know if he remembered, or maybe it was the second surgeon. I mean, I think I had 2 or 3 surgeons, but anywho, he was like, well, do you remember what it looked like? And I was like, I remember it had like lines in it that were these colors. And I held up like a bright green colored pencil and like a purplish colored pencil. And the surgeon was like, well, those are the colors of the veins. Like, I don't know how else she would know that if she didn't see it. Because of course, like, my family was thinking like maybe I dreamt it or whatever. But yeah, they're like, she obviously saw it. So that was kind of cool. I do remember that. I remember being able to take my own staples out of my stomach. I think I got the picture. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Hold on. Oh yeah, here we go. I've had 2 children, and they were both C-sections due to me having a transplant and things. So technically, actually, I take that back. That's a lie. I had to have a C-section because Brayden was like sideways. Anyway, and then obviously my second was a C-section because of the first. That's besides the point. But because of that, I'm not gonna show you my scars right now. I'm not there yet. Maybe someday I will be brave enough to show all my scars. My youngest says that I have 4 belly buttons because I just have holes all over. But I will show you my belly shortly after my transplant so you can see. I find it very interesting because, especially now, I follow and have a lot of followers that have had transplants. And like, for instance, one more recently that had a liver transplant, her incision and surgery line is like, it goes down like this, and then like right under the, like on your rib cage, it goes across. Mine is not like that. Mine is like this. So mine just goes all the way across my stomach. I had this drainage tube that I ended up having to get like changed out all the time. And it got to the point where when I went to the doctors, like, they let me pull it out. I still can like remember the feeling of that, and it makes me cringe every time. But you can kind of see, like, I'm getting up close and personal. So obviously I have a hole from that one. I had some, that I believe is from my bio bag from when I was a baby. That's my belly button. And then I have one up here, and I don't honestly know what that's from. But, and I don't remember how many staples I had, but you can see, like, I had a lot, and I took them all out. So I do remember that. I remember being able to take my own staples out. I remember they ended up having to give me, I believe it was an antibiotic or something. I don't know. But they had to put a port in, or like a PICC line, I think. And it went from, you guys, I have like a rash going on, so don't mind that. But I have this scar right there, and that's where they put it, and like it went to my heart. And I remember this was after my transplant, and I had to go to U of M for it. And they had said, like, if she doesn't want to have to spend the night at the hospital, like, we can just numb her and do it like that and not put her under anesthesia, and then you guys can just go home same day. But if she doesn't want to do that and she wants to be put under, she's going to have to spend the night. And I was at that point, obviously, like, I'm sick of being in the hospital. Like, I don't want that. So I'm like, just numb me. And I remember them numbing me. And I remember being able to, I was like laying on my side and I was watching like a computer screen, and it like showed, like, it almost looked like somebody was looking under a microscope. Like, I can kind of picture it a little bit when I think about it. But I remember seeing that. And I remember at one point asking my stepmom, like, when are they going to do it? And she, I guess, asked them, like, are you almost done, or have you? And he was like, yeah, we're done. We're just finishing up. So that was amazing. I didn't feel a thing. So that's another like thing that I remember. Another little like thing that still I have found that this has stuck with me and literally has traumatized me to this day. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, you can ask my husband, you can ask anybody. If I'm in the hospital for anything, like, I've had multiple surgeries, okay, since my transplant. And not only that, but like C-sections, you have to have an IV. I've had an appendectomy, I've had my tonsils out, I had back surgery this year. Like, I've had all these surgeries that involve IVs, right? I am terrified that they're gonna get ripped out. Like, I need you to tape it and tape it and tape it and then tape it again. And then once it's in, like, don't come near me. I don't want to move. Like, I act like my hand, literally, like 9 times out of 10, my veins are shot because I have had my blood drawn since I was a baby, at least every 3 months. No joke. I have like one good vein right here, to the point where I go to the lab and like they know now that that's the only one I have. I have no idea what's going to happen when I'm 80. Like, but when they want to do an IV, they normally have to do it right here. And there have been times where they're like, we can't put it in your hand. Like, if I've had to have a CT with contrast and things like that, there's been times where they're like, we can't put it in your hand. And then it's just a whole nother ball game. And they have to get the little ultrasound out and find an IV and blah, blah, blah. But when that IV is in, I swear, I act like my arm is like paralyzed. Like, I act like I can't move it. Like, I know the needle is no longer in my hand. I know that it's like flexible. I know that I can move it and it's not gonna do anything. But just the thought of it, like, possibly getting ripped out. And like, I don't like to feel it. And I know why I'm like this, because after my transplant, I had a catheter in, and my grandma accidentally stepped on it. And yeah, it came out. And I swear to God, that is why, like, I'm like traumatized. So that is like the extent of what I remember, like, really from like the beginning. Obviously there's a lot, but those are the things that stick out to me the most. Another thing is, I remember my mom would come and she would put lotion on my feet, and then she would put slippers on, and she would do it so much, like, I literally have on my heel like this permanent like blister scar type thing. It's almost like she did it too much, that I don't know, it became raw. I have no idea, but it's there, and I know it's because of that. And I'm trying to think. There's really not a lot more that I remember from like that specific time. So fast forward a few years, I'm doing great. I'm not on oxygen, and I get invited to U of M. My pediatric nurse has invited me, along with other kids that have had transplants, to start attending this camp. It was in Pennsylvania. Honestly, I don't know if it's still there. I could look that up if you're interested, but it was called Camp Chahopee, and it was basically just a camp for transplant recipients, kids. And it was like any other summer camp. You could, essentially, it was for kids like us to go and basically just live. And I swear that's life-changing for me. Like, that really, really helped me realize that I'm just like all the other kids my age. Like, I can do all these things. I'm not held back anymore because of my liver transplant. And I remember my doctor one time telling me, like, you don't have liver disease anymore. Like, you had it. You don't anymore. Like, yes, we keep track of your labs, but honestly, they're watching my liver functions, but they also are tracking my kidney functions really closely now, because come to find out, my anti-rejection medication I have to take for the rest of my life can cause kidney failure. Who would have guessed? I recently found that one out. But anyway, I really credit these camps and my pediatric nurse for organizing it and getting us all there. Like, we would meet at the U of M super early in the morning. We would get on a big shuttle bus and we would go, and I think we were there for a week. And there was kids from all over. And I think I went for like 6 years straight. I went for a very long time, to the point where I was like one of the camp kids, and then I became one of the like counselors. And I went to Camp Chahopee, I think it was 3 years. And then U of M, they started their own camp. So here in Michigan, there's, it's called Camp Mishatonki, and it's the same thing. But that one also isn't just for transplant kids, I don't remember for sure. But I want to say there were kiddos there that didn't have transplants. But again, it was just summer camp, and there were like 3 of us in particular from Michigan that, or technically 4 of us, that got really, really close just because of the drive there and the drive home, and we went every year. Well, it was 4 of us, and then the one kid, he ended up, he stopped going, I think after like year 2. And so then it was the 3 of us, and I still talk to those 3. The other kid, he unfortunately passed away 2 years ago now, but the other ones I still talk to, and they're doing great. And like, I gained lifelong friendships out of this. So I thought it would be fun, really quick, to kind of show you guys some pictures and show you some pictures of my camp days. Just I don't know. But this is shortly after my transplant, or before, when I was on oxygen, and I went from having to have the mask to just having like the nasal cannula. So that was lovely old me. You can kind of even tell in this picture I'm still kind of jaundiced, like the yellowing of my eyes a little bit and my skin. Sorry, I have like a frog in my throat at this point. This is, I have no idea what year, but I believe it's the year after my transplant. I think this is a school picture, but it was shortly after, because I was still on steroids. So I had like the steroid chipmunk cheeks, and look at those bangs, and like this dress, come on. We don't have that anymore. Girls don't go through awkward phases anymore. Like, this is awkward phase. These girls skipped that somehow. So if you're watching this and you're younger and you never had awkward phases, thank the Lord, because this is awkward face. And then this is actually a picture of me, I believe like the week before I ended up like going to the hospital because my oxygen levels were super low. I was a cheerleader and we were doing a Christmas parade, and I walked the whole parade with my cheerleading crew. This is afterwards. And seemed like I didn't complain. Like my grandma's like, you didn't tell any of us that you like could barely breathe. And then this is from when I came home after my transplant. They had this big sign and like I had gift baskets from people. I'm from a very small town, so like the whole town kind of knew. Not kind of knew, they did know. This is a couple years after. This is me on one of the shuttle buses waiting to go to camp. And then I just want to show you, I made like scrapbook pages a very long time ago, so don't judge my scrapbooking things, but this is from camp. So obviously there's me right there. This is just yeah, memories, pictures of all of us. And this is from, I think, the year before. I'm sorry, I should have put these in order, but again, just us girls. We typically ended up like being in the same cabin with the same crew every year, which was really nice. This was when we were a little bit older and we were like obsessed with some of the boys. And so the boys came and like destroyed and TP'd our cabin. So we did the same. That's my one friend that I still talk to well, I still talk to both of them. But that's what we did to their cabin. And that, and that. And our counselor was amazing because she let us do it. This is just more camp pictures. And this is my pediatric nurse, Vicky. She is angel on earth. I still talk to her to this day. She's amazing. This is the boys from our camp. He unfortunately passed away a while ago. This is the one friend that passed away a couple years ago. This guy and the girl that I was talking about, they're the ones that I still kind of keep in touch with. This was my boyfriend every year I went to camp, okay? So every year they had a dance, like one of the last nights at camp, and I always went with him, and my friend would go with him, except for the very last year. This was the camp in Pennsylvania. Except for the very last year, we switched. I ended up going with him, and my friend went with him. And I don't want to say their names because, you know, this is from years and years ago, so hopefully people aren't gonna like recognize them, and hopefully if they do, they don't get mad, but I don't want to like say their names and upset anybody. And then this is me and my one girlfriend again that I pointed out. We this was like basically like a set up like an army type thing where you have to climb the logs and like go jump over it. We did that. And then this is us at the top. And I thought, oh, well, it's kind of a weird picture, but this is the zip line that we did. So that just goes to show, like, they did, like, they incorporated everything that a normal summer camp does. So I was like, yeah, I was just really grateful for that. And then the last thing I want to show you, just because I think it's hilarious. This is a longer video, so if you're still with me, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I wrote a book shortly after my transplant, and it says my book of the hospital. My age is 8. So this kind of like, maybe this will like say something that jogs my memory, but it just says, here's how it started. I was at school Friday, February 9th. Oh, so I think it was January, because it was my brother's birthday, and my brother's birthday is January 9th. But it says, our teacher was reading us a story. The speaker went to the girl and told me that my dad was here. So I went to the office. Oh, no. It was February 9th, because this is the day that we went to the doctors after they discovered that my fingers and everything were purple. So sorry. We went to the doctors. My dad told the doctors that I was not breathing very well. The doctors said I will have to go in the hospital. I went to my room. There was one thing I didn't like. I had to wear a tube, the nasal cannula. I didn't like it at all. On February 14th, I was glad I was out of the hospital. I still had the tube. I thought people were going to laugh, but they didn't. I was getting used to it. Then it was getting worse. I was back in the hospital, and they told us about the transplant. The first time I was in the hospital, I was getting higher on the list, the transplant list. There's lots of doctors that come in your room. They take lots of tests on you and x-rays. The doctor said it would have to stay in I would have to stay in the hospital until the transplant. At the doctor's, I didn't have to wear a tube. I had to wear a mask. The mask was a lot better. But in the hospital, you can still go to school, and there is a playroom. Oh yeah, I do remember that. There was like inside the playroom, there was like little like areas for school. I do remember that now. Okay, you get to talk about your feelings. You can have pins and t-shirts. And oh, this I remember now too. The Michigan football players came, and you can have your picture taken with them. So U of M Wolverines football, at the time back in 1996, that football team came to my room and visited. And my family, like my mom's side of the family, my grandma and all them, they are huge to this day, U of M fans. And so my grandma was like on cloud 9. I don't know where the picture is, but I know there's a picture of her and the football team and me laying in my bed, but I don't know where that's at. But anyway, you can have a hat from them for the people that need a transplant. It isn't scary at all. And when I was done, I didn't have to have the tube or the mask. I could ride my bike, roller skate, rollerblade. I was so happy. The end. Look at my picture. And also, look at how I wrote. It's like I have the whole entire page, but I'm like slowly. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's kind of what I do remember of like my actual time, like in the transplant and after. Honestly, there's not a lot after my transplant that really I feel like I did or didn't do because I had a transplant. Honestly, I had my transplant when I was a child. So there was a lot of unknown and a lot of things unanswered until I was an adult. Because like when you're 8, 9 years old, your parents aren't thinking about like if you can drink when you're 21 or if you can have babies or any of that, you know, like that's not on my parents' radar to ask. So, of course, when I left the pediatric unit and went to the adults, whole different ball game. They treat you like an adult. There's no hand holding. You kind of are in and out, and it's super quick. You get your labs done, you go see the doctor, like then you meet all these people, and it was just different. And I swear, every year I have to go once a year, or now that I'm healthy enough, and I like every other year I have to go in person, and then I can do video visits now too. But I swear every year I learn something new that I can or can't do. As far as like, I recently learned that my anti-rejection medication gives me 100 times higher risk of getting skin cancer. So it's super important that I stay pasty white because I'm covered in sunscreen. My anti-rejection medications can cause diabetes. It can cause kidney failure. I remember being told in the beginning and for like the first, I swear, 10 years after my transplant, to not take Tylenol, to only take Motrin. Do not take Tylenol. You don't want to put anything damaging or harsh on your liver. If you're in pain or have a fever, you take Motrin, no Tylenol. Then I go to the adult thing and I tell them like one of my as needed medications is Tylenol, and my doctor's telling me absolutely not. Or one of my medications is Motrin, and my doctor's telling me absolutely not. Motrin's hard on your kidneys, and your anti-rejection medications already do a number on your kidneys, so you need to be taking Tylenol. Yeah, just little things like that. I have on and off pain from all the scar tissue I have. After my first son was born in 2012, like 6 months after he was born, I ended up having horrible, horrible pain at one of my incision sites from one of my tubes. And I remember going to the doctor, and they told me that I was going to be having hernia surgery. They said I had a hernia. Next thing I know, they're discharging me. It was wild. So sometimes I'm told it's a hernia when I talk about it to my doctor. Other times they just say it's a ball of scar tissue, and there's no point in opening me up and like getting rid of that scar tissue, because then more scar tissue will build. So I definitely, I would say that is one of the biggest things. I frequently get pain, especially in that spot. And it's like a hard knot. Like it feels like a hernia, but I guess it's not. The only other thing, and this may be a little personal TMI, but I have very irregular bowel movements. I'm constipated constantly. They say that that's partly due to like, because when I was a baby, I had to have the Kasai procedure, and like the small intestine, like all of that's just jumbled in there. And so those two things are honestly the two things that still kind of affect me. They did tell me that I could drink, that there was no need for me not to be able to drink. They obviously, like anybody, they said, you know, you can drink on occasion. And they said, if you are going to drink, it's better for you to drink beer or wine or like a mixed drink instead of doing like straight shots. Luckily, I am not a huge drinker. I think the last time I drank was a year and a half ago. And if I do, it's a glass of wine or like a wine cooler. I hate beer, and I definitely don't do shots. I was never a smoker because obviously everything started from my lungs. So I've always kind of been terrified to like harm my lungs in any way. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. I really don't take for granted the gift that I was given from my organ donor. Like I try hard to honor her and to treat my body the best I can. Am I the healthiest I could be? No, but I definitely try. And I am very, very, very grateful and blessed to not have a lot of complications, because like I said, I know people that have had horrible complications, and I know people that have passed away because of those complications. I've never changed my anti-rejection medications. I was told that I could when I was pregnant because the kind that I am on is not safe to breastfeed with. So they had given me the option to switch when I was pregnant to see if my body would react or if my body would start rejecting my liver. I didn't want to chance it. To me, it's better for my baby, for me to be here and be alive and be healthy than it is for me to breastfeed. So I have never changed my anti-rejection medications in 27 years. I know people that have, and they're fine. I know some people that just by trial and error don't even have to take anti-rejection medications anymore. I'm hoping with the way that medicine is and science is and stuff that maybe I will get to that point someday. But I went from taking a crap ton of medications and pills right after my transplant and for a few years after to now I take 2 pills in the morning and 2 pills at night. They're my anti-rejection pills. And if I have to do that till the day I die, I'm going to do it because it's keeping me alive. And I'm not chancing that, you know? So, yeah, this was really long. I'm sorry. But if you've made it to the end, I appreciate you so much for watching. I love you guys. I am so excited to continue this, this journey. Moving forward, there's not a lot of like transplant talk. So I'm going to start getting a little more personal, a little more deeper, talking about my testimony a little bit more and what brought me to the Lord and just my journey. Aside from my liver transplant, I had a very hard childhood, and I have had a rough life. And I don't say that to like feel sorry for me, give me pity, blah, blah, blah. I say that because I have a past and I have had a rough life, and God has gotten me to where I'm at today. And I want to let other people know and let other people see by me talking about it and showing you guys that your past doesn't define you. You can get on the other side of it. And if you let the Lord in, He will be with you every single step of the way. He wants that. He wants you there. He wants you to grab His hand. He wants you to say, Lord, I'm ready. I need you. I want you. Protect me. Keep me safe. Walk in front of me. Walk before me. Lead the way. He wants that for all of us. So if by me sharing my story and my journey and my past can lead one more person to the Lord, then I feel I've done my job. So I will keep talking about it all. If you have any questions, comments, anything, if you're watching this and you are a transplant recipient or you're waiting for a transplant or you're a parent of somebody that is, and you have any questions, I am a open book. You can follow me over on Instagram or TikTok. There's more like just behind the scenes, day-to-day life stuff on there. So you can just see that I live a normal, chaotic life as a stay-at-home mom of 2 boys. Normal, just like every other mother out there. And yeah, just, I'm an open book. So comment any questions you have. If there's anything that you want me to talk more about or do a video on, please, please, please let me know, because I have obviously ideas for videos, but I also want this community to be a positive community, a joy-filled, uplifting community. And so that is my prayer for this channel and my hope. And I feel that this is part of my purpose, and I feel that this is what the Lord has put on my heart to do. And so I'm hoping and praying that I'm right and I am on the right path. And if that's so, He will continue to bless this and He will point me to the people that I can help. And he will also bring me people that can help me in my life. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling now. But it's a lot, you guys. It's hard to like keep a video 15, 20 minutes. So I apologize. This will probably be one of my longest videos, okay? I promise I won't keep doing these, but I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week.